March 4th, 1933 marked the day Franklin Delano Roosevelt delivered his inaugural address to assume the role of 33rd President of the United States. He spoke to an eager crowd awaiting his response to the economic crises brought about by the Great Depression. His answer, however, brought in unforeseen levels of government spending, thereby setting a precedent. The government would play a more active role in the United States development. Under its newfound jurisdiction would be the field of research and development, or R&D to abbreviate. Hello, my name is Marty Francesco, and this is Federal Spending and Research and Development. This graph from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, one of 12 regional reserve banks which make up the United States Central Bank, represents the growing investments in R&D from 1953 to the present day. There is a division between the private business sector, which has invested at a high rate since 1980 and has been increasing, and the federal government, whose funding has stagnated since 1986, as you can see in the graph. Note how almost all funding is done by these two sectors alone. Other uses have a very small share of the total. This begs the question, in what ways should federal spending be allocated to research and development compared to the private sector? My argument is that government-funded research and development is most effective when it is used on basic research, and conversely, private sector research is better suited for applied research. But what is basic research and applied research? There's a crucial difference between these two. Basic research seems to gather a more comprehensive understanding of nature, regardless of whether there are practical applications. It can be described as research for the sake of research. Applied research is aimed at the development of a product. Prior knowledge is accumulated and integrated to support the mission of the researchers. This can be understood as a kind of research with incentives. It follows that in the United States market, there lack immediate financial incentives to pursue basic R&D. Former chairman of the Federal Reserve, Ben S. Bernanke, shares this concern, saying that fundamental research, or basic research, is ultimately the source of most innovation, albeit often with long lags. He then later says that an increase in total government R&D expenditure would require careful considerations. This is not necessary, however, because as much as 91% of the government expenditures on R&D go towards applied research and development. Because this percentage is so high compared to basic research, the same economic effect outlined by Bernanke would be observed if the share of basic research were increased only. The United States federal government should, therefore, increase its basic share of R&D funding, since private sector support is unlikely due to the lack of incentives from market forces, and since basic research facilitates effective use of applied research. The Center of Strategic and International Studies, a think tank ranked #1 by the University of Pennsylvania, identifies the importance of knowledge spillover in a research report. This process has basic research open up new fields of discovery, which again demand further R&D funding, to quote the organization. Having a feedback loop like this is especially helpful when taking into consideration the many departments this R&D may spill over to. In this graph, also produced by the CSIS, it can be seen that the federal departments, the DoD, NASA, DOE, HHS, and NIH dominate the total government R&D spending in 2017 and 2018, but also exist alongside the smaller agencies such as the Department of the Interior. When basic research is funded for any of these more popular agencies, spillover benefits, as identified by the CSIS, may go to any number of these less popular agencies. Basic research also has a safety net effect. A policy analysis journal article from 1975 summarizes this significant because it was from before the meteoric rise of private R&D. The authors of this article demonstrate precautions so that no two firms conduct the same R&D. To do so, they suggest government could orchestrate these precautions actively. Today, however, there's no need for that step of the process as a result of the current literature of basic R&D available to the public. In this way, government need not assume resource allocation responsibility for R&D for all R&D as it is stated in the article. So here is the resolution and the impacts of this argument. There are many hypothetical benefits to basic research implementations, all of which can be applied and tested with ease. Assessing the effectiveness of the division between basic and applied research enhances future cooperation between these two fields. This is my work cited. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
First question, how valid and reliable were the sources that you used, and then how do you know they were?
I know my sources were valid and reliable because they were all from JSTOR, and the one policy analysis article that is from 1975, I used as a primary source.
And what advice would you have for people that want to look at like R&D in the future for research?
I would advise people to look into more modern emerging technologies because there's a lot of potential for R&D to affect these technologies, and a lot of R&D has to go into these technologies.